What is going on, guys? In today's video I will show you the top 3 best ranger builds in Path of Exile 2. So in this guide I will give you a quick overview of the best setups for both ascendancies, so the Deadeye and the Pathfinder. Then I will explain what skill gems and upgrades should you focus on. Then as well we'll see what is the best gear and how to get it for both the mid game and any game. And then finally, we will go over the passive tree, attributes, your skill rotations, and even what Atlas passive should you use, so we would be able to get the highest damage possible and much more. And before we continue, thanks to the Timesaver. They are a pro website that provides POE2 services like cheap currency, custom builds, boosting and top quality items, orbs and much more. They also have a lot of comments on Trustpilot and this website is really worth a try. So make sure to check them out by using my link in the description. This setup is known as the Lightning Arrow build, which is currently one of the best and fastest setups that you can use to farm maps and other endgame content. Like you can see from the gameplay, we are basically deleting enemies in split seconds. And on top of this, we can also delete bosses, by us having also a very high boss damage by using the cast on shock and the ball lightning. At some point in the later game, some lowered gear players might run into a mana problem, but lucky for us, the ranger has many tools to address this problem. And with the optimized gear, we need nothing more than a single stat roll on our weapon or the gear to completely solve this issue. So if you like using only 2 skills and completely speedrunning through the hundreds of enemies in few seconds, then let's get right into it. So let me show you the build, and for the main class I have chosen to go with the ranger and our ascendancy is the Deadeye. Then for the first skill we have the lightning arrow, and for our support gems we want to go with the martial tempo, ice bite, cold infusion and primal armament. Then second we got the lightning rod with the scatter shot, concentrated effect, conduction and the rising tempest. Next we got the herald of the thunder with the lightning infusion and the lightning penetration. Next we have the herald of the ice with cold penetration, magnified effect and the elemental focus. Next we are also using the wind dancer with the blind. Next we have the orb of storm with the chain, unleash, overabundance and the persistence. Then we got the cast on shock with the ball lightning, deceleration, inspiration and the impetus. And finally for the last one we got the voltaic mark with persistence, inner weight and the lightning mastery. Most of this build is structured around using the lightning arrow and the lightning rod to instantly shot his DPS lightning projectiles, so we use gems and skills that will support and increase their area and damage, while the rest are powerful buffs and utility skills that usually get activated in the background. Next up we have our passive tree, and if you are interested in a full in-depth guide on how it works, then check out my beginner guides. So let's take a look at our setup, and we want to start at this projectile damage node, and go like this until we get the honed instincts and the vile wounds. Then next we want to keep on moving to get this entire thing, and mainly we want to aim for the master fletching and disharness the elements. Then from here we want to get back at this point and then keep going down like this. And then when the path splits, then now we want to go to the left bottom. So let's make our way like this, and then finally we want to get both these lightning nodes, so the lightning rod and the flash storm. Then from here we want to circle back and go to the top right side, and get the mental toughness and the other mana regen nodes, that will help us with the potentially low mana. And then finally from this point and onwards you can unlock all the rest of the nodes in whatever order you prefer. All of the nodes that we got are important, but the ones I mentioned have the top priority as they're the most important to acquire early on in the game, to make our build functional, and then in the late game to make it even more powerful. And then now let's go all the way to the middle again, and for our ascendancy build this is what we have. So at the beginning you want to unlock the gathering winds. Then second get the projectile proximity specialization with the point blank option. Then next get the endless munition, and then finally we want to select the wind ward. And also preferably we want to get 1 mana on kill jewel, or at least get the mana on kill on the quiver. Next up we have our Atlas passives. And the general idea behind this is to aim for bonus passives that spawn a lot of grouped up monsters, such as in expeditions or the rituals. Also our lightning ranger has a very strong single target damage, so farming boss maps or essences is also a good option. So when we start we want to first of all get to the bottom left side like this. Then now we want to go to the top right side and get all of these passives. And then finally from here you want to go to the top middle part and get the rest of the passives in no particular order. Then next we have our gear, and for this build you only need about 100 spirit. The weapon of our choice is the expert dual string bow. This is the most important item that we have, so look for the highest cold or physical damage bow that you can get your hands on. Also, lightning damage is a good option as well, but for sure you want to avoid fire damage. Generally, I would value additional arrows over a 50 DPS increase, so keep that in mind. And then for bonus stats, we want the bow attacks to fire an additional arrow, then physical damage increase, more lightning damage, or plus extra levels to all projectile skills. Next, we also have the offhand called the primed quiver, and good stats to look for are the cold or physical damage, increased damage with the bow skills, attack speed, dexterity, projectile speed, level of all projectile skills, and mana on kill. And generally, this is the place where we want at least one source of mana on kill, to reduce our low mana against bosses. Then for the helmet we have the advanced Celt helm with armor and evasion. And for bonus stats we want more armor, more evasion, max life and cold resistance. And it's very important to reach 75% resistance in all 4 stats, so try to get as much of that as possible on your gear. Then for the chest we have the expert studded vest with a lot of evasion. Yes, I chose to sacrifice life for more evasion, and this will give us a lot more utility, especially in the endgame. And then for the extra stats we want max life, more evasion and fire resistance. Then for the belt we have the utility belt that recovers our flask 20% quicker. And then for bonus stats we want more max life, and any other resistances like lightning or chaos. Then for gloves we got the advanced doubled gauntlets with armor and evasion. And for extras we want max life, chaos and fire resistance. Then for boots we are using the advanced embossed boots with evasion. And for more we 100% want to get as high movement speed as possible and also cold resistance. Then for our first ring we got the Thief's Torment. And here I want to give you a huge disclaimer. So if at the start of this build you're struggling with mana, then this one ring can completely solve it because of the 15 mana gain per each hit, so we will basically never run out of it. But as it is a quite expensive ring, so you can go for other rings as well. This Thief's Torment is only needed for bosses, so usually use different rings for mapping. It's the only source of mana on hit in the game, so without the ring you will instantly run out of mana on the boss. You don't really need it in the lower tier Waystones, but once you get to the top tier, then you will most likely need it. So try to get it before most other players find out about it. And then on the second one we got the Sapphire Ring with cold resistance. And for more bonuses we want max life and chaos resistance. And then finally for the amulet we got the Stellar Amulet, which gives us more to all attributes. And for extras we want to get more to spirit. Overall for this build I recommend to get 95 intelligence for the ball lightning and the cast on shock. Plus I have a level 11 gem for the ball lightning and also a level 11 for a cast on shock. Of course these gems can be a higher level, but then it will require more intelligence. So getting them to level 11 I found it to work the best. And now finally let's quickly take a look at how this build will work. And as you can see from the gameplay, this is one of the most powerful but easiest and simplest builds in the game. So our main rotation is just to use the lightning arrow and the lightning rod, for easy to kill monsters, which are most of our targets. But then specifically for bosses, you can then place down the Orb of Storms, and spam the lightning rod and cast the volatile mark. This will give you a great buff against the boss and insane amount of shock lightning damage for the single target. On top of this, if you're a new player, then some mechanics may seem a bit weird, so let me quickly explain. If your lightning rod or the cast on shock is not working, then either way try to self-cast the volatile mark, and then place down the Orb of Storms, or perhaps after your volatile mark is out and the Orb of Storms, then only then start spamming the lightning rod. Also, if you're low level and you can't use the cast on shock, then you need to put a skill gem in that skill, or the game itself won't allow you to get the effect. And then finally, if you're low geared and run into a mana problem, especially against bosses, then try to get one Jewel with the mana on kill, or mana on kill from our quiver. For most players, there's no real way to solve mana for bosses, until you get the Thief's Torment ring, but using simple strategies may help as well. This might sound obvious, especially at the beginning, when you might not have yet unlocked the mana on kill. But if you run out of mana, then you just simply want to cast less skills and wait. You'll be doing very high damage anyways, so casting few less skills won't really impact the gameplay that much. But it may reduce your mana consumption, especially if you're undergeared or underleveled. This setup is known as the Toxic Poison build, as we are going to be dealing insane amount of damage with just the poison effects alone. Our playstyle is structured around specializing in dealing damage almost exclusively by spamming the gas and divine arrow, as because of our skill tree and the gear we are going to be deleting trash enemies in split seconds. However, what I really like about this build is the fast speed farming potential, as you can keep moving while dealing a lot of damage over time. And then for the rares and bosses, we will use the Plague Barrier and the Toxic Growth, which will annihilate anyone that stands in our way. If you want to stack as high poison as possible and use one of the highest DPS builds currently in the game, then let's get right into it. So with all of this said, let me show you the build. And for the main class we have chosen to go with the Ranger, and our ascendancy is the Pathfinder. Then for the first skill we have the Gas Arrow with support gems such as the Armor Explosion, Corrosion and Persistence. Then second we got the Toxic Growth with Martial Tempo, Soul Thief and the Concentrated Effect. Then next we got Divine Arrow with Bursting Plague, Comorbidity and the Long Shot. Then next we have the Rain of Arrows with Withering Touch, Maim and the Envenom. Next we are also using the Plague Barrier with Expanse, Magnified Effect and the Chaos Mastery. And then finally for the last one we got the Wind Dancer with Clarity, Cannibalism and Precision. Next up we have our passive skill tree. For most new players this can seem extremely daunting, so let me quickly explain. In very simple terms, every character is granted one passive skill point every time they level up, and are sometimes even granted more for completing certain quests. We have 3 node types, so small nodes, notable nodes and keystones. All of them act as checkpoints that you want to reach and make a path to build around a specific playstyle. So let's take a look at our setup, and we want to start at this evasion node. Then go like this and unlock all of these 3 nodes, so Blur, Eagle Eye and the Honed Instincts. Then now keep going down here and then take the right and unlock this Harness the Elements. This will make that never poison effects can pop by themselves and do big damage. So then from here we want to keep on stacking the evasion and poison duration and damage. So then we go back to the previous path and keep going down, while on our way getting most of this circle and both of these 2 nodes called the escape velocity and the freedom of movement. And now finally from here we want to keep on going forwards and get these 2 last nodes. And then from here the priority doesn't really matter that much, as you should be already doing huge amount of poison damage. So from here unlock all the other nodes in whatever order you want. Also, in the future I'm thinking to maybe invest some points into the Acrobatics Keystone, which will give me insane amount of evasion, but I still need to test this theory, so I'll let you know if I make an updated video. And then now let's go all the way to the middle again, and for our Ascension setup this is what we have. So at the beginning you want to unlock the Contagious Contamination, then next get the Overwhelming Toxicity, then now get the Running Assault, and then finally the Relentless Pursuit. If we compare both of the Path of Exile games, then POE 2 is much slower, so getting this movement speed in the endgame will make this build even more powerful than it is right now. And to simplify my decision making and so you could easier understand, then we wanted to prioritize the Blur, Honed Instincts, Heavy Ammunition and the Crippling Toxins, as they will give us the biggest poison upgrades to not only damage but duration as well, so we wanted to get them first. And then for the rest we invested into more stacking evasion, more skill effect duration and just more damage, which will make our poison last forever. Next we have our gear. The weapon of our choice is the Expert Short Bow with a crit chance. And for the extra stats that we want to try to get are increased physical damage, increased accuracy and increased attack speed. And also, as the bow is a one-handed weapon, so we wanted to get the Fire Quiver, with the addition that adds 3 to 5 more damage to attacks. And for extra stats we want to get things like the physical damage, increased damage with the bow skills, and increased attack speed. Then for the helmet we have the Advanced Guarded Helm with armor and evasion. For extras we want to get more evasion, more maximum life and reduced attribute requirements. Then for chest we have the Expert Pathfinder coat with evasion, and for bonus stats get reduced slow on debuffs, evasion rating, max life and percentage to lightning resistance. Then for the belt we have the Fine Belt with maximum life and lightning resistance. Then for the gloves we got the Advanced Section Braces with evasion, and for bonus stats get accuracy, max life and fire and cold resistance. Then for boots we're using the Expert Laced Boots with evasion, and for extras we want to get increased movement speed, even more evasion and resistances like cold and fire. Then for first ring we got the Emerald Ring with a lot of accuracy and cold resistance. While on the second one we got the Sapphire Ring with cold resistance, maximum life and more to all attributes. And then finally for the amulet we got the gold amulet with increased rarity to items found. And for bonuses, get max life, more to spirit and more to all attributes. As the game just launched, so this is a starter setup which should be more of an example of what stats and prefixes to look for. Your weapon will be the most important upgrade, so prioritize any type of flat damage or increased attack speed. And then for defenses, make sure that you're regularly updating the base type of your gear. So prioritize evasion, maximum life and any type of resistance that you can. Also, movement speed on boots is a good option as well. And now finally, let's quickly take a look at how this build will work. And this is actually very straightforward. So for trash and weak enemies, just use the gas and vine arrow. And this will fire toxic arrows on the ground, which will all do poison damage over time. And then even detonate, which will cause you to deal even more damage. Then second, for bosses, rare enemies or just hard packs, this time we want to spam the toxic growth into a single gas cloud. And use plague barrier as needed or just to detonate the toxic growth. This rotation again will shoot toxins on the ground that explode and deal poison damage, but you don't have to wait for that delay by using the plague barrier. And you need to do all of this into a single gas cloud, which you can create by using the gas arrow and increase your damage even more. And then finally, the rain of arrows and the wind dancer are just meant for utility, so use them depending on the fight. This setup is very unique because we are going to be freezing enemies with the permafrost bolts, which will give us frost fires, so then we will be able to drop explosive grenades that can detonate, and with the explosive shots we will do massive amounts of damage. This build is great against bosses and other large enemy groups, as we can CC the enemy while our fuse is going on, and then we can detonate our AoE skills and clear anything and everything in our way. So let's move over to the build. When you get to it, you want to pick the Witch Hunter Ascendancy, but if you're leveling, then the basic mercenary class will work as well. And first we have our skills. So for the main spell we have the crossbow shot with no support gems. Then second we got the permafrost bolts with support gems like the glaciation, then the ice bite and also the deep freeze. We chose this skill because we want to push hard into the freezing effect. So then once we freeze our enemies, we can then drop a huge ignite on them with explosive grenade and do a huge amount of DPS. Then next we got the explosive grenade with support gems like the frostfire, concentrated effect, primal arraignment, eternal flame and searing flame. This skill just got a huge buff in 80% physical to fire damage converter. So this will give us big ignites on the bosses and provide our build with fast clearing speed. Next we have explosive shot with support gems like the wildfire and the nimble reload. Then next we have the herald of the ash with support gems such as the clarity, vitality and precision. Then for flash grenade we got one support gem called brutality. Then for high velocity rounds we have the scattered shot and double barrel. And then finally for our galvanic shards we got support gems like the lightning infusion and pierce. As most of our build is made around the permafrost bolts and grenades, so we use gems and skills that will support and increase their damage, while the rest of our powerful filler skills we can use until our main rotation comes back up. Next up we have our passive skill tree, so we want to start at the projectile damage node, and go like this until we get these 3 notable nodes. Then next we work towards here and get these 2 more nodes. Then afterwards go like this and get that entire right side. Then now keep going down until this circle, and then we take the right and get that whole right side, starting with instant reload and all the way up till wasting. Then now we come back to this path and get that whole circle. And then from here we just keep going down and take whatever node you want, as long as you follow this path exactly in the way that you see here. To simplify my decision making, then basically we want to prioritize instant reload first, because reload speed will give us the biggest build upgrade, so we want to get it first. Then also, once you have explosive grenade and explosive shot skills, then start taking the grenade node and grenade reload speed. Then next, our path down to the crossbow wheel at the bottom is made for more damage, and the leatherbound's gauntlet and the general's binding is for more defense. And then finally, for the rest of our nodes, they are meant for once you go ignite, which will increase our damage and other ailments. Next we have our gear. The weapon of our choice is the advanced Dayat crossbow, with stats like the critical, speed and min and max physical damage. For prefixes we have a load and additional bolt, increased physical damage, add to physical damage and add to fire damage. Then for helmet we have the shielded helm, with stats like the armor and evasion. Then for chest we have the advanced explorer armor with the armor and evasion. Then for belt we have the mail belt with reduced flask charges. Then for gloves we got the bolstered mitts with armor. Then for boots we are using the stacked sabotons with the armor and evasion. Then for our first ring we got the ruby ring with fire resistance. While on the second one we got the sapphire ring with cold resistance. And then finally for the amulet we get the jade amulet with dexterity. As the game just launched, so this is a starter setup, which should be more of an example with stats and prefixes to look for. Your weapon will be the most important upgrade to look for, so prioritize flat damage of any type. Specifically, the physical roll will be the most important, as your skills themselves will do a lot of conversion. Also, once you start investing more points into the passive skill tree, then you will want to look for stats like the flat physical and flat fire damage. Attack speed is also helpful as it improves your reload speed. For defenses, make sure you're regularly updating the base type of your gear, so look for increased armor on gloves to get the best use of our leather-bound gauntlet node, which gives 1 evasion per every 1 armor, and then go with armor/evasion hybrid for all the other items. And now finally, let's quickly take a look at how this build will work. So for bossing on large rare enemies, we want to start the rotation by using the permafrost bolts, which freezes them and gives us the full bonus from the frost fire. Then afterwards, we drop explosive grenades and either way wait for the fuse or hit them with the detonator skill, which does not have a consume freeze support on it. And for this, in this rotation, I'm using the explosive shot. And then from here, we want to finish it off with the high velocity rounds and or galvanic shards. And then the rest of our skills are filler spells, which we can use until we get back our main DPS rotation.